Hey guys, my name is Massimo, and today I have learned that I am an idiot. I've been playing this game for hundreds of hours now, and during that time, I have avoided driving a tank like it was the plague. I don't know why I had this mentality. Maybe I just assumed that I wasn't a worthy enough tank driver. Maybe I just assumed that the other players on my team were better suited to drive the vehicle. They were better at it, and so I would do my thing as an infantry, they would do theirs as a tank, our powers would combine, and hopefully we would win the round. And then I thought to myself, why am I excluding myself from a huge part of the Battlefield franchise? Like, why am I only really delving into the infantry section when there's all of these amazing vehicles, the tank in particular, to take advantage of and have some enjoyment? This is the reason why I'm stupid, because over the last couple of hours, all I've been doing is driving around in a tank, and I have been having a blast. I have not had this much fun in Battlefield 4 in a very, very long time. And maybe it's just because it's something new and shiny, it's my shiny new toy, but just tank driving in general is a hell of a lot of fun. My new favorite thing right now is sniping helicopters and jets out of the sky. The first time I did it against an enemy jet, I was yelling like a little schoolgirl. I was giggling everywhere. It was so invigorating. It was so enjoyable. And now that it's happened, I constantly go for these things. And while I've only hit a few, I think so far I've only hit 2 jets, a lot of helicopters, but every single time you're able to land those shots, it is instantly gratifying. Admittedly, I was pretty abysmal for the first couple of hours, and the biggest thing that I had to overcome was understanding the travel speed and the bullet drop of all of the shells. I used all of them. I used the Sabo, the AP, and the HE, and while I loved all of them, I think the one that I am going to be sticking with from here on out is the AP shells. I like that it has a fair amount of splash damage against enemy infantry. It also has plenty of firepower at a distance. You don't have to just lob this at your enemy like the HE. And while I know a lot of people swear by the HE rounds, I couldn't really hit anything. I'll be honest, maybe it's just because I'm bad, maybe it's because I'm new to the tank driving, but trying to snipe an enemy helicopter, or really even an enemy tank that is out in the distance, was too difficult for me, and so I landed on the AP shells. A glitch that I was noticing more and more though, and I don't know if this is because I was getting unlucky and I just had a bad couple of rounds, but dusting is a serious issue when you're playing in the tanks. Dusting, if you're not aware, is when you fire a rocket or a shell at an enemy vehicle, be it a helicopter or another tank, for example, and you notice that it blew up on the vehicle. The choppers are really obvious because you see this nice plume of smoke and dust fly everywhere, but it doesn't do any damage. This, of course, gets you killed all the time, especially if it's against an enemy tank. You know, one shot definitely can mean the difference between life and death. And so I wanted to ask you guys, is this a known issue? Has this been going on since the very beginning? Has it not been improved at all? Did I just have a bad string of luck and it's not really all that prevalent in Battlefield? Because while I'm really enjoying playing as a tank, this was one thing that got annoying very, very quickly. The one thing that I quickly discovered to be one of the most annoying things to fight against as the tank, and really got my blood boiling, was when I would die to a C4 dirt bike user. You guys know this, especially on Silk Road. They're everywhere. You have those recons or supports placing C4 on the dirt bike. They drive to you. At the last second, they jump on out. The dirt bike rolls right into your tank, and if you weren't able to kill them as they were sneakily or weaving in and out of the dunes, you're gonna be a nice little fireball. And so once I slowly started to get used to using all of the different weaponry that was available to my tank, it was one of the most gratifying things to snipe these little assholes that were driving around just to take out tanks. And while I realized that technically this is a fairly savvy tactic, realistically, if you're able to take out a very valuable resource, the tank, with just a couple of C4 and a dirt bike, that is going to give your team a huge advantage. Hopefully your other vehicles will be able to push up onto a few objectives that you normally wouldn't have been able to, because the enemy team is now waiting on that respawn. And so I think it's for that very reason why it made it so satisfying to take these guys out as they were driving either towards me, just blowing up right into my face, or when they were about to take out another one of my friendly vehicles. It really was the nice cherry on top when you were able to see that nice explosion. The biggest thing that I had to learn, though, was understanding when to approach certain conflicts, and then simply just when to get the hell out of there. When I initially started, I assumed that I just needed to drive my tank on the nearest objective, sit on there, be a tank, take a lot of shots from multiple different sources, hopefully take out a lot of the enemy, and capture that objective for my team. While that can be helpful, while in few situations that is very beneficial, for the most part, sitting back and kind of scoping out the situation before you go balls deep is a lot better and way more beneficial for your team. I think this is the reason why I was so intimidated by this vehicle, because when I initially started playing Battlefield 4 a year ago, I did just that. I went onto objectives, 1,000 rockets would fly my way, I would get really tense, I would have no idea how to approach it, I would immediately blow out half a second later, and I was like, well, that sucked, that wasn't very enjoyable, and then I would just go play my infantry, which I know how to play. And so I really had to think to myself, to be patient. Slow down there, Charlie Brown. We need to go in there cautiously. We need to approach the combat with more of a level head and try to think about it a little bit more methodically. This is basically true for every aspect of the tank. You really just have to slow down and think about what is going on around you and then adjust your tactics appropriately. I think my favorite part about it is when you get into those sticky situations where infantry are running around everywhere, there are a few vehicles, and you have to pick the right target. You have to acquire or assess the situation in such a way where you pick the right guy at the right time, because one wrong false step is going to mean the difference between life and death. And so the perfect example of this is if you see a tank in front of you, well, normally he is going to be the right target, but then you also notice a few recons skirting around the edge of the map. You probably assume that one of them has C4, and so you back away from the tank to block the line of sight, quickly switch on over to the recons, take them out really quickly, and then get back on the tank. I don't know why that is as satisfying as it is, but when you're able to pull it off and then actually come out of the tank battle successfully, you come out victorious, it is one of the coolest things that you can do in Battlefield 4. And so I guess the reason why I wanted to make today's video was just to let you know, well, first of all, I'm an idiot because I have no idea why I just sectioned off this huge part of Battlefield 4, but also just to recommend that if you've ever been hesitant to try out a key feature in the game, but have been scared that your team is going to look down upon you or someone's going to laugh at you in chat because you're a terrible attack helicopter pilot, screw them. I know that might sound bad right now, and a lot of you are like, whoa, it's always about playing the objective. It's always about your team and winning, and while at the end of the day, yeah, that's what you're striving for, you have to remember that everyone sucked when they first started playing the game. No one was a good attack helicopter pilot. No one really had any idea when they first jumped into the franchise, and if it's the first time that you are going to be piloting one of these vehicles, you just have to keep that in mind. You're slowly going to get better. You're going to get to the point where you are going to be a valuable asset and pilot to your team, but you have to start somewhere. And so simply just don't make the same mistake that I did. Don't section yourself off from a huge portion of the game, because when you really get down to it, basically every aspect of Battlefield 4 is a hell of a lot of fun, and why would you want to section yourself off from that amazing gameplay? But yeah, guys, that is about it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed the tank combat. Clearly, this is not something that I have on my channel all that often, so I hope you guys enjoyed. But until tomorrow, have a good one, and take it easy.